What is up, fight fans? I'm Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and with me is a man looking to change his fortunes in his second foray into the UFC's fabled Octagon on December 12th. On that night, at UFC 256, he will return to action looking to hand a second straight loss to the babyface grappling talent that is Chase Hooper, and that man is the one they call Slippery Pete, aka Peter Barrett. Mr. Slippery, sir, thanks for the time before your Octagon return.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah, man. I love the intro. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Now, okay, so in an interview you did for the UFC, you talked about something that was fascinating but also in a way sad to me, in how you felt your age was like a detriment to you getting a shot on the Contender Series and kind of in the UFC in general, and that you had to take on the fight that no one else wanted on that show. How long have you felt like you were almost kind of getting aged out of those breakthrough opportunities a lot of young fighters get? And was it like a source of frustration for a while? Was there a point where like, damn, I don't know if I'm ever going to get this shot now?
I mean, all things considered, yeah, there were a few moments of darkness where I wondered if I had missed my opportunity, if, other things going on got in the way, or that was the asterisk to my career was to have, some personal issues prevent me from getting to the level at which I thought I could compete and would excel at. So, they told us I was too old for the Contender. Oh, wow. You know what I mean? I didn't make that up. Wow. They said, we're looking for young prospects, young, exciting knockout finishes, undefeated records. But young was one of the attributes that was on the list of what they were looking for the Contender Series. So, that being said, we don't have a long shelf life in this profession anyway. Yeah. So to know that I'm getting into my mid-30s, which is where you start to see the guys start claiming belts, mm-hmm. And me just getting to that level at that stage in the game, that doesn't write me off, but it does, kind of put a shorter wick on my candle from that standpoint. Yeah. I would be lying to myself if I didn't pay attention to these things. I need to have my eyes on these and to know that there's an urgency with what I would like to do in the organization. So, it's a young man's sport. What can I say? But with the age comes the experience, comes the ring craft, comes the character, and the seasoned attributes that you wouldn't get from a fresh look or from a fresh body.
In your UFC debut, you were the biggest betting underdog on the card. For this fight, you aren't the biggest, but you're right in there, kind of tied for second. I know for most fighters, that kind of stuff really doesn't matter that much, but on some level, does being an underdog to a 21-year-old with less fights than you, does it bother on a little bit on a level like, I'm a grown-ass man. I've been doing grown-ass man stuff in this sport for a very long time, much longer than him. What the hell's going on here?
So this is like one thing that I've been coming back to time and time again. And not the fact that, I'm an underdog on Chase Hooper, but like, do you listen to Tech Nine?
No, I don't.
Are you familiar with him?
I know about him, yeah.
He's got this song called Like I Ain't. And, it's about, having a little bit of imposter syndrome, to an extent where it's like, you can get caught up in what everybody else is saying and question what you've done. But like, don't act like I haven't already done all this shit before. Like, I've been on the low end. I've been on the high end. I've been on the A side. I've been on the B side. I've been all of these things before. So it doesn't matter to me. You can say whatever the fuck you want. Like, I ain't already been here before. Like, I haven't already knocked these motherfuckers out. Like, I haven't already beaten 3 giants that towered over me, So it's like, you guys, they can come out and say whatever they want about me because, yeah, Chase Hooper's a brown belt world champion, Pan Am champion. I know that. We know that. But, you hit a black belt once. Yeah. He's a brown belt. You hit a brown belt twice. He's a purple belt. You hit a purple belt 3 times. He's a blue belt. And before you know it, you're beating the shit out of a white belt. And it doesn't matter what kind of pedigree he has on the ground because he's clinging onto consciousness. And that's just something that I've been taking into it with is it a chip on my shoulder? No, but now that we talked about it and I'm a little fired up, I mean, maybe it's a chip on my shoulders. So, it's just, I know where I've been. I know what I've done. I don't care what the books say. Bet on me. Let's win some money together. Let's have some fun for sure.
Now, Alex Caceres seemed to put out a blueprint on how to beat Chase Hooper. This man threw 164 significant strikes and landed 62% of them. That's significant strikes, not just total strikes, and 84 of them landed from distance as he kept it on the feet throughout, and he pieced up Chase pretty good in that fight. How closely have you looked at that fight, and is honestly just the strategy, the idea going into this fight, mirror that as much as possible within blending it with your own style?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. I would be a fool to say that Caceres did not lay a blueprint to destroy him as with stand-up. You know, he did a great job defending his back, scraping him off the cage, picking him apart from range, I mean, they were both pretty much the same height, but Hooper gives up his height a lot when he strikes by bringing his chin in right behind his elbows. So Caceres was able to key on those. And if I'm telling you about those things, you know, I've seen them too. So, I mean, Caceres did a great job giving us a blueprint, and seeing how he reacted in those situations has allowed us to refine it a little bit and to see other ways to do it too. So, you know, I've had the conversation with Joe, and he said it too. You know, he would not be upset, so he would be happy if the only time that the fight went to the ground is when Chase Hooper was waking up looking at the lights.
Fair enough. Now,
you know what I mean? We're prepared, we're ready, we're comfortable. We've been in the situations where he has the most advantage, and Joe's confident with what I've been doing, much like he was confident in what I did getting ready for Zalal with all the choke defense.
I bet Chase certainly worked hard to kind of close up the holes Alex exposed, and we'll want it to be on the mat where he's strongest, and we talked a little bit about that. When scouting him, what particular positions do you feel are his strongest in the clinch, on top? You kind of already referenced chokes and stuff like that a little bit, and how have you specifically prepared for those situations, and have you worked with anyone specifically that you felt, could really mirror Chase's kind of style?
So, yeah, I mean, we've been working leg defenses. We know he rolls. We know he jumps guard. We know he sits guard. We've looked at all of his attacks and his ways of, kind of like wet blanketing his way into it, for lack of a better, technique. But, he'll take a hit to get to your hips. He'll throw up big lazy kicks to see if his opponent will catch him, and then use that to step in and get to the hips. So, we've done a lot with the legs. We've done a lot of leg defenses, getting comfortable in there, which ways to roll, how to roll, just your basic defenses, low risk, high reward situations, and just get really comfortable there. So, if I'm in this position, I have plan A, plan B, plan C, and God forbid I need to go to it. But yeah, there's a plan D there too.
Okay.
And we've covered all of them. I've had Joe pop quiz me. I said, Joe, so what do you want to do today? I said, I want you to watch me in all the situations, all the situations that we've been working on. And, don't coach me, see what I'm doing right, see what I'm doing wrong. And then I kind of want like a grade to see what I'm recalling from my memory without us going over the situation first. And, I would 85-90% of it's right there on memory recall for use. So, we're doing the right things. Joe's confident that we've covered the right things. He's got a couple guys down there that are really good with the legs. He's got a couple guys down there that are 6'2", 6'3", 150 pounds.
Okay.
So it's like a perfect body type where there's not too much muscle, and they're light enough to move around on them, but they're long and like spider monkey enough to hang on with their long appendages. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like some guys, you get in a triangle and it's like hip, knee, foot. Chase Hooper has like a fucking 3-foot tibula. You know what I mean? Like the length from his hip to his knee is considerably longer than mine. And you can almost get lost in those areas thinking that you're safe because he's still there.
Yeah.
So, I've been working with a couple of those guys on the sparring side of it. My teammate Saul Almeida, he goes down to ATT a lot to help Masvidal. He helped. He's been in all those corners. He's like a behind the scenes great training partner, great body, great ability to mimic opponents. He's 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", to give me that nice southpaw look. So we've been doing a really good job recruiting bodies and styles and body types to make sure I'm very prepared for this fight.
In the same interview I referenced earlier with the UFC, you told them on this specific quote when getting your UFC contract that it validated the last 10 years of my life in such a way that all the sacrifices I made, all the relationships I walked away from, all the friendships that I never nurtured the way I should have, it was all worth it. Now talk to me about that, because it's a struggle many fighters go through and people don't know or really understand that part of it and making your way up to this level. Could you like give me some examples of like relationships you sacrificed, didn't get to nurture like you wanted, and has there been a desire to like make amends now that you've reached the UFC, or with the UFC just being early in it, the dedication to the job is still very much unchanged, and those are still things that'll have to wait for further down the line?
Yeah, I mean, the latter half of what you said was, resonates with my approach to life. Like a lot of people do understand that it takes an incredible amount of sacrifice to get to this level and to stay at this level. Like I didn't get to the UFC to sign a 4-fight deal to get cut after 2 losses.
Right.
Like this is, now that I know that I've earned my way here, I've done it. I did it the long way. I did it the hard way. Trials and tribulations in my personal life all along the way. But Tim Grover, he says it best in his book Relentless. Like if you want to succeed at this level, you get here and you push harder, you dive deeper, you go longer and smarter into your training to get better, because anybody can make someone bad at something good at something, but it takes a special opportunity to go from good to great. And that's what I'm after. So yeah, I mean, case in point, this past week, I had one of my best friends from Colorado. I went to school in Denver. He was like a big brother to me, 4 or 5 years while I lived out there. He was a bartender at a club that I bar backed and bartended at. But, anything outside of that, when we introduced each other to other people, he was my older brother, JT, and I was his little brother, Peter. He passed away this week.
Oh, wow.
Not COVID related, but he was in his 40s, mid 40s, died young. Had some health complications in the past 10 years that kind of caught up with him. But, the last time I talked to him was probably 6 months ago. The last time I saw him was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And, when I was still an amateur, still going pro, I was still, taking like a week to go visit my friends and family. I call them family out in Colorado that I spent so much time working with when I was out there in college, and then a little time after. And I haven't done that in like 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer. So like right there is a class example of not taking the time to nurture relationships and then realizing, man, they get pulled right away from you. And like I can still hear JT's voice. I have pictures of him, but I'll never be able to physically share the same space with him. And then kids from high school, one of my buddies from high school had cystic fibrosis. He just passed away on Sunday. Ugh. And it hurts me, but we weren't close. We were friends in high school. Yeah. I mean, like that could have been a relationship that I could have nurtured, that I could have spent more time with. Yeah. But I didn't, and I'll never have that opportunity again. So, those are just like 2 quick examples because they're relevant to the last couple of weeks of my life. But these are the things that you don't necessarily realize you're walking away from them. But now when I think about all my high school friends, like I only see them at high school reunions if we go. I have like maybe 2 or 3 friends that I keep in touch with regularly from high school. And, that's just, that just speaks to how life goes and how you can get involved in stuff, whether it's work, play, sports, athletics, whatever. Mine just happens to be the UFC.